Welcome to Cyber Talks, where we discuss all things cyber. We'll share real stories, practical insights, and exciting tips based on our own experience and expertise. Let's start. My name is Naftali, and I'm joined here with my friend and colleague Tal. We're both red teamers at Sci. Today we'll talk about Dmacc and how it affects your organization.
While many of our clients are security aware, we often see a common oversight when it comes to implementing an efficient email authentication, which increases the risk of social engineering attacks.
I'm sensing a slight conflict of interest here. As red teamers, being able to spoof emails makes our lives much easier.
That's right. When we execute a phishing attack, it looks much more genuine when the email appears to be coming from your own domain.
So Tal, let's get down to business. Tell me, what is Dmacc and how does it help us mitigating the issue?
So DMARC is an enforcement protocol. It's designed to ensure the legitimacy of emails sent on your behalf. The sole purpose of DMARC, based on the defined policy, is to either accept the email, send it to spam, or entirely reject it. This way, only legitimate sources can send emails using your domains.
It's also important to note that Dmacc relies on two additional DNS-based authentication protocols, which are SPF and DKIM. So let's drill down a little bit, starting with SPF. No, not the one you see on your sunscreen. What is it exactly and how do you configure it?
So, as opposed to the Sun Protection Factor, the Sender Policy Framework, or SPF for short, defines the origin server, which are authorized to send emails using your domain prefix. This is achieved by publishing a TXT record containing those servers. As you can see, this is the flow an email goes through once it leaves your server. At the point it reaches the recipient email server, a DNS query is used to check for the domain's SPF records.
So the TXT record should contain the IP addresses.
This could be either an IP address or a fully qualified domain name. Let's see how the record looks behind the scene. As you can see here, our own SPF records are pointing to some of the third-party services we use.
So what does the end result look like?
I'm happy you asked. On this slide you can see the difference between an email originating from a legitimate source compared to a spoofed one.
A good example for that would be the marketing department that uses third-party services and auto-forwarders. As those addresses are not included, they will get rejected, meaning less spam in my mailbox.
Yes, as those servers are not included in your domain's SPF records, the SPF check would fail, resulting in the emails not being accepted by the recipient.
Sounds good to me. But in that case, how complicated is it to implement Dmacc?
Well, that's a very good question, but it really depends on multiple factors of your organization. Things like size, how many domains are sending emails, usage of external systems such as Salesforce or Atlassian, or each have their own way of configuring things. Even the reach of the organization could play a role in the implementation stage. Is it local or global, and so on.
Seems rather straightforward. What would you say are the most common mistakes when configuring Dmacc?
So I'd have to say the first thing comes to mind would be rushing the reject policy. When implementing DMARC, it is crucial to do so in stages, starting with the monitoring stage, where the policy is set to none, causing Dmacc to generate reports on emails but not actually intercept them.
Could you tell us what kind of reports are we talking about?
Yeah, the reports are divided into two categories. You have your aggregated and forensic reports. Both contain useful information that is needed to properly analyze email traffic related to your domains. The aggregated reports contain important fields like which servers sent the email, the contents of the envelope and header from, and more. As for the forensic reports, they contain more detailed information, such as the sender email address and the title of the email.
I've heard that many companies often implement the Dmacc records incorrectly, therefore causing more harm than good. Are there any other considerations one needs to take into account when setting up Dmacc?
I'd have to say the practical DMARC configuration, either adding flags that are not aligned with the protocol syntax or adding redundant flags that would actually negate the purpose of the protocol.
And I'm sure you can go on for days, but I'm afraid we're limited in time, so we're going to move on with a quick demonstration of how the lack of Dmacc could amplify the chances of falling victim to a phishing attempt.
This was definitely an interesting scenario where one of our clients had a relatively small attack surface, and the sensitive interfaces were protected with multi-factor authentication. This campaign was aided by the fact that we could use their own domain against them, which made the phishing emails that much more believable. It ended up giving us access to their internal network and further compromised their organization.
Thank you for joining our Cyber Talk. See you next time.